Man, what's cracking, gang? It's T Nasty, and I'm back with another banger for you guys. It's finally fight week for UFC 306, Riyadh season, Noche UFC, OMalley vs. Dvalishvili at the Sphere. Whoever the fuck came up with that name needs to be fired. What the fuck is that? Anyways, I'm here today to bring you guys the 100% factual, official breakdown and predictions. So this is a spoiler alert for what's going to happen this weekend. We all know the UFC is actually scripted, so if you don't want to know what the writers have cooking up, click off right now. And before we get started, I just want to say, do not put your house on my picks. I am not responsible for any losses under my advice. Honestly, if you're going to bet, take all my picks and put a parlay on the opposite. But with all that being said, this card is pretty short, only having 10 fights, but it is a sweet one. It truly is a Mexican card, as only 2 fights don't feature a Mexican, but both guys in those fights have Mexican ties. We got 5 prelim fights and 5 main card fights. These will probably mostly be bangers, but the Sphere is going to be the true attraction to this show. Now, without further ado, let's get started with the breakdown, y'all. Starting us off in the bantamweight division, we got my boy Rosas Jr. versus Arichi Long. Now, this is a fight that I think will be a banger for as long as it lasts. Raul beat a really good fighter in his last fight, gritting out a late finish against Ricky Tercios. And we have seen in the past that Arichi Long comes to scrap every time. I do think Raul Rosas will win, but Arichi Long will be a tougher test than many think in my opinion. I think Arichi Long will be able to stop the takedowns at first and push Rosas back on the feet. I believe this will be Rosas Jr.'s toughest test to date. I see it going into round 3 after some back and forth moments, and eventually Rosas manages to drag him down once he gets tired and finds another submission finish. I'm really just praying for Rosas to win so that we can get a chee-wee-wees in the post-fight interview. Regardless, I'm picking Raul Rosas Jr. by submission. Next up, in the flyweight division, we got another Mexican fighter in Edgar Chairez versus Joshua Van. Now, Edgar has been in the UFC for a couple years now, but hasn't really been able to make a name for himself. But on the other hand, Josh Van has gathered quite the little hype train over the last year among the hardcores. I think the main things that draw people to him are his tendency to put on exciting fights and his willingness to take short notice fights. This kid is very young in his career, only being 22 years old. Now, this is one fight that I think may break the Mexican parlay. I think Josh is a dog, and coming off his first UFC loss, he's going to be hungry to go out there and get a win, but this may be his downfall. He just came off a KO loss 2 months ago, which in my opinion is a little too soon to come back. What I see happening is a very exciting first round with Chairez's grit and toughness and Mexican spirit versus Van's aggressiveness and hunger. But late in the first or second, I see Van getting clipped due to recently being knocked out and getting submitted. This is one of my predictions for a possible fight of the night. The official pick is Edgar Chairez by submission. Next on the prelims in the women's strawweight division, we have Yasmin Jauregui versus Caitlin Souza. Now, I'll be honest with you guys, I don't know much about either of these women. I have watched a few of Yasmin's fights in the UFC, and she seems to be one of the more skilled and technical strikers in the UFC amongst the women. Souza appears to be a striker as well, but she is more apt to using her physicality and will go to the grappling if she needs to. I see this fight starting with Jauregui using her distance and kickboxing skills to avoid any real damage from Souza's power, but I see them eventually coming close and Souza getting it to the ground and racking control time. I believe this is another one that may snap the Mexican parlay. I want to see Jauregui keep winning as she does have an exciting striking style, but I got a gut feeling it isn't going to end well for her this weekend. My official pick is going to be Caitlin Souza by split decision. Probably a robbery. Moving on along to the lightweight division, we got a banger of a fight between Manuel Torres and Ignacio Bahamondes. A little bit of Latino versus Latino action in this one, guys. Now, this fight is definitely going to be a war, guys. I believe Ignacio and Manuel are going to go out there and put on a show for the Mexican fans. It will be exciting for as long as it lasts, but I do not see this fight getting out of round 1. Both of these guys are nasty strikers, especially Torres. And I think Ignacio is going to try and keep it at kicking range, but Torres is going to use his ferociousness and height to close the distance, and I think he will get a KO late in round 1. This is another fight I think will be in competition for fight of the night. That's the pick for this one, gang. Manuel Torres by round 1 KO. Next up for the prelim main event. Okay, who the fuck made this the goddamn prelim main event? Anyway, we're back with the women's bantamweight division with Irene Aldana versus Norma Dumont. I think this fight will look like a classic striker versus wrestler matchup. Irene Aldana is a pretty sweet boxer, and we've seen her KO girls before. And Norma Dumont is more of a powerhouse who tends to grapple. I see this fight being pretty even with Dumont controlling the fight, but Aldana will rally and show off her boxing combos and get good moments for herself as well. I see it ultimately going to decision with Norma Dumont taking the win. Official pick for this one, Norma Dumont by unanimous decision. Moving on to the main card, y'all. We start off in the flyweight division. We got Ronaldo Rodriguez out of Mexico versus Osborne. This is another fight with a Mexican prospect who is set up essentially to get a win. has been in the UFC for a few years and has fought almost everybody. Got some good wins, but got some KO losses as well. I think this fight is basically just to showcase Ronaldo. He is a savage in there, a real scary looking dude for being so small. I see this fight being a classic beatdown, 2 or 3 knockdowns with some nasty ground and pound, and possibly a submission. I just think Ronaldo is going to be too nasty in there, especially in front of a pro-Mexican crowd. Official pick is going to be Ronaldo Rodriguez by round 2 KO. Next up on the main card, we got Daniel Zellhuber versus Esteban Ribovics in the lightweight division. These are 2 very good prospects in this division, guys. Daniel Zellhuber was a very hyped prospect when he came into the UFC. He had that one loss, which derailed him a little bit, but he has rebounded and is in position to move to ranked opposition. Standing in his way is Esteban. He is new to the UFC, but has shown to be all action. I was actually there for his last fight in St. Louis when he head kicked Terrence McKinney, man. That was a crazy moment. This is my last choice for a possible fight of the night, guys. I think it's going to be a pretty exciting fight with Zellhuber trying to slow down the pace and keep it at range and pick his shots, while Esteban will be trying to pressure forward and make it a war. I ultimately see this one being another decision. I'm going to go with Daniel Zellhuber by unanimous decision. Moving along to the featured fight in the featherweight division, we got my boy Brian T-City Ortega versus Diego Lopez. Now, we all know T-City, whether he wins or loses, Ortega always comes to fight. He bangs it out on the feet and has nasty jiu-jitsu on the ground. But across the cage will be almost the same style of fighter in Diego Lopez. The main difference between these two guys is that Diego's age and aggressiveness is just on another level. I think this fight is going to be pretty entertaining with Diego giving Ortega trouble early in the first, but with Ortega taking over later in the fight. A lot of people are overhyping Lopez. He's awesome, don't get me wrong, guys. I love Diego. I'm not hating on him at all, but I just think Brian Ortega is destined to fight for the title again. He's going to be back like an eagle. Official pick is Brian Ortega by unanimous decision. Now, for the co-main event, for the trilogy, for the Women's Flyweight Championship, Alexa Grasso versus Valentina Shevchenko 3. We've seen Alexa shock the world and submit Valentina. We've seen a robbery draw last year at Noche UFC, and now they settled it once and for all. This fight is probably going to be good, guys. We're going to have the Mexican heart of Grasso on display against Valentina's aggressiveness. I believe this time around, Valentina is going to do everything in her power to get that belt back. Alexa will definitely put up a fight and show off her boxing, but I believe Valentina will end up picking the belt back up. There is a chance that Alexa could get the submission again, but I just see Valentina winning. The only real chance Alexa has, in my opinion, is another robbery decision. That's why I'm picking Valentina to become champion again, winning by split decision. Finally, I've been edging this whole video waiting for the chance to glaze Sean O'Malley. Seriously though, we got the main event between Sugar Sean O'Malley versus Merab the Machine Dvalishvili. Now you guys know how I feel about this one already. I said in the Nightmare Matchups vid that Sean is sending Merab to the shadows, and I stand by that. I just do not see any other scenario besides Sean absolutely sleeping him. Merab is a workhorse for sure. He will be coming forward the whole time and trying to take Sean down against the cage. I do see Merab take him down once or twice, but I believe Sean will be able to get up and threaten with submissions if he can. A lot of people don't know Sean low-key has an underrated ground game. Over 5 rounds, I believe Merab will be able to have a couple moments, but ultimately will eventually fall victim to a nasty O'Malley knockout. A lot of people are pointing out how Merab has weakness to the left hook, being hurt by Moraes and Cejudo with that. But I think Sean will actually be more likely to use his distance, similar to how he did against Aljo, and I don't really see him going in the pocket like that. The shot I do see being there, however, to catch Merab is the left high kick, kind of like this one right here. I also think knees up the middle and right, left hands moving backwards will be there for Sean as well. If I'm being real, this fight is either going to be a Sean O'Malley knockout early or a Merab 50-45, but I'm definitely sticking with my boy. Sean O'Malley by knockout is the official pick. Now, before we wrap it up, I'm going to make a few more predictions. For fight of the night, I discussed a few earlier. It's definitely going to be either Chairez versus Van, Torres versus Bahamondes, or Zellhuber versus Ribovics. You know, upon thinking, I'm going to go with Zellhuber versus Ribovics for fight of the night, guys. For performance of the night, I'm going with Manuel Torres, and then either Sean O'Malley, or if he loses, Ronaldo Rodriguez. A few other predictions I have for fight week in general. I think Merab is going to win the press conference for sure. He will maul O'Malley with his broken English, and Sean is never good at press conferences, to be honest. I also see Merab and Tim Welch getting into a scuffle at the hotel or backstage somewhere. I just know one of them is going to run their mouth and some shit will be started for sure. I also see Sean and Merab low-key becoming bros after this, and like, I don't know, why do I see them making a skit or something for Instagram? Anyways, I also see some sort of technical difficulty happening with the Sphere and people getting all pissed about it on Twitter. And then my last prediction, either every Mexican wins or most of them lose. This happens every time we get a region-specific show. This one is a lock. Alright, if any of y'all stuck that out for the whole card, leave a Zam in the comments for me. I'm going to be doing a breakdown like this for every pay-per-view going forward, so stick around for more stuff like this. I'm also uploading a Sean OMalley promo at the same time as this video, so go check that out after you watch this video. And if you guys enjoyed, leave a like and subscribe. Enjoy the violence this weekend. I'll see you in the next one, gang.